If you did not watch the NBA draft, then you may not know the New Orleans Pelicans just made one of the worst moves I have seen in a long time. No, I'm not referring to the Jordan Poole CJ McCollum trade. I actually like that trade a little bit. I think Jordan Poole is slightly worse than CJ, but he's a lot younger. That Jordan Poole Zion pick and roll is going to be ridiculous though. There got to be no women allowed in the front row of the Smoothie King Center. If there is, then we're going to have some issues. What I am referring to though is the Pelicans trade with the Atlanta Hawks, where they gave up their 23rd pick and their unprotected 2026 first to the Atlanta Hawks for the 13th pick in order to draft Derik Queen. New Orleans, is everything okay at home? What's wrong with you? Because this is unacceptable. This is not it. But you know what? Let me start off with the positives. I'm trying to be more positive in my life as of late. Atlanta Hawks, y'all get an A+ for this trade, and I'm gonna be honest, y'all are working on an A+ offseason. I have loved every single move y'all have made. As of right now, you guys are my Eastern Conference dark horse. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I would not be shocked if y'all were in the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe even pushed for an NBA Finals berth. I mean, just looking at your guys' lineup, Trae Young is Trae Young. Zachary Risache really rounded into form towards the end of the season. He's really starting to become a pretty nice tertiary or maybe even secondary shot creator. Dyson Daniels is Dyson Daniels. Mohamed Guy, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. But he's pretty interesting. Getting Kristaps at the 5 for Georges Niang at a second, that's a pretty good pickup. If he does get injured, which if we're being honest, that's almost a certainty, Onyeka Okongwu and Clint Capella are still a solid backcourt tandem. Also, can't believe I forgot to mention him, but all this obviously hinges on Jalen Johnson coming back with close to 100% level of play when he was playing last year, and really the past few years he's shown a lot of promise to be a future all-star caliber player. I don't know if he's gonna progress coming off an injury, but if he's just as good as he was last year, this team can be very dangerous. And then with the pick you guys got from New Orleans, Asa Newell, I mean, he's almost certainly going to be a passable rotational big, and he really has the potential to develop into a good stretch 5. I mean, you guys gave up the 13th pick, and in return you got a guy who you honestly could have picked at 13, and it would have been a stretch, but it wouldn't have been a huge stretch, plus a 5% chance to draft AJ DeBonson next year. I mean, that is A+ GMing. Props to y'all. Atlanta Hawks fans, whoever your GM is, make sure to show up at his house sometime in the next couple hours and just give him a quick peck on the forehead, because he deserves it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, New Orleans Pelicans fans, go to your GM's house, bring him a glass of water just to parch his thirst, but make sure to set it on the ground and piss in it just a little bit in front of him. Because what the fuck are we doing, bro? New Orleans, I'm not really mad at you. I'm just disappointed. Why would you trade your unprotected first for next year to move up 10 spots to just barely grace the edge of the lottery, when it's almost a guarantee, even if you win more games than you did last year, that you'll still be in the lottery? I mean, just look at their roster. DeJounte Murray's going to be out for a significant part of the season, so Jeremiah Fears is probably going to start. I do like Jeremiah Fears, the prospect, but at the end of the day, he's still a 19-year-old rookie. Then you got Jordan Poole at the 2, okay. Trey Murphy at the 3, actually pretty good. He had a really solid season last year. Zion at the 4, we already know his history. And then at the 5, you got Derik Queen or Yves Missy. I mean, on the surface, that's cool. They got a pretty decent bench, but is this team going up against the Thunder? No. The Rockets, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, Clippers, Lakers. Hell, I don't know if I'm taking this team over the Grizzlies. Like, if this team was the 9th to 10th seed in the West, I think that'd be a huge accomplishment. And in that scenario, they'd still end up in the lottery, and Dallas just proved to us that all you really need is a chance to get that number 1 overall pick. Predictably horrible asset management for one Joe Dumars. And if you didn't know Joe Dumars' history, Pelicans fans, he previously was the executive for the 2010s Detroit Pistons. Then he was part of the front office for the Sacramento Kings in the early 2020s. Quick side note, the year after he left in 2022. In 2022-23, the Sacramento Kings had one of their best seasons in the last 20 years and finally reached the playoffs again, 48-34, 3rd seed in the West. So that's really just a quick synopsis of who we're dealing with here, ladies and gentlemen. But I mean, I really hate ragging on this move because at the end of the day, I do like the pick. I love Derik Queen. He was my favorite player in the draft. I spoke about it in my NBA draft preview that very few of you watched, but I get it. It was kind of bad, but still, he was my favorite player in the draft. He's an elite shot creator for a big, but this is not a good fit for him. Y'all just drafted Yves Missi last year and he was pretty decent, and both of them are true centers. Derik Queen may be able to develop into a big four in the future, but to do that, he'd have to get a decent three-point shot, and that's the biggest area of weakness in his game right now, other than some of his athleticism issues. I'm not saying that Yves is a stud or anything, just that he did decent enough to me to think that he earned a second season as the starter, and now you just drafted someone, traded up to draft someone, where your two supposedly franchise bigs are going to be cannibalizing each other's minutes. And that's not even to mention if Derik Queen does develop a three-point shot and is able to play the four, well, y'all already got someone kind of important playing your four position. But let's zoom in on that because that area isn't necessarily a weakness for me. It does add a little bit of intrigue to this trade because I'm sorry, but it's not just Derik Queen and Yves Missi that's not going to fit together. I don't think Derik Queen will fit with Zion Williamson at all. They're very different players, but honestly, Derik Queen is kind of the finesse version of Zion. They both operate on getting into that mid-range, getting into the lane, and finishing around the rim. It's just Zion does that by saying, I'm going to go through you, and Derik Queen does that by saying, I'm going to sauce you up and then finish a post fade over you. And in today's NBA, I just don't think you can have two undersized players that both can't shoot very well and are both average defenders in your starting backcourt. I just don't think that's a possibility. So to me, the New Orleans Pelicans drafting of Derik Queen is about as close as we are going to get to the Pelicans literally telling us that they are going to trade Zion Williamson. I'm sorry, but the fit just doesn't work well, and the Pelicans traded up, gave up future assets, very valuable future assets to acquire him. Zion can't thrive in any situation where Derik Queen is who the Pelicans drafted him to be. So New Orleans has to trade him, and honestly, I actually support this. This is the one part of this whole drafting trade situation that I like. I agree. Zion Williamson should be traded. I've been saying this for about a year now. I'm sorry, but I don't think he'll ever be healthy. You're 23, 24 years old. This should be the healthiest you ever are in your career, and he just hasn't been that. We've never seen a player who's had injury history early in their career overcome that injury history later in their career. That just hasn't happened before. And that alone would be enough, but then you add on to that all his off-court decision-making question marks. I'm not going to go into the recent allegations, but I mean, it's just like he constantly puts himself in these type of situations. You put those two things together and you get a player whose trade value is going to be constantly decreasing. Zion's trade value is never going to be higher than it is in the present. So to me, keeping him at this point, expecting him to finally break out of this cycle of immaturity and health issues, I think it's sunken cost fallacy at this point, and the Pelicans should just get what they can out of Zion. So assuming this is going to happen, I wanted to go over what some of these trades would look like, because trading for Zion is a very weird prospect right now, mainly because it's just hard to suss out where his value lies. I mean, if you just take the talent, Zion is a top 15 fringe top 10 talent in the league, but has his stock decreased around the league to the point where acquiring him is not necessarily a positive asset-wise in a lot of people's eyes? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with that. I'm basing all of this on a recent Bleacher Report article where they stated that 3 teams that showed significant interest in trading for Zion were the Grizzlies, the Bulls, and the Pistons. So all of my trades focus on those 3 teams. First, let's start with the Grizzlies. One trade I could potentially see happening between the Pelicans and Grizzlies is KCP, Cole Anthony, Gigi Jackson, and draft compensation for Zion straight up. I'm all right with that trade, but the Grizzlies do give up a lot of depth. Zion and Triple J, both of them are strictly 4s, so I don't think they'd fit together. And the Zion Williamson pick and roll, good lord, the amount of knuckleheadedness in that locker room would be astounding. The second trade would be kind of to amend that Triple J Zion fit issue. That would be Triple J and Cole Anthony for Zion, and the Pelicans would probably have to add draft compensation in that scenario. I don't know. That's where it's kind of tough to judge Zion's value. It fits a little better. Honestly, if the Pelicans could get this, I would take this just because I think Triple J is about as good a player as you can get in return for Zion. But Grizzlies wise, I don't think this trade will help you a lot. And if anything, I think it's going to make your already volatile locker room that much more volatile. Next up, we got the Bulls. The Bulls would give up any two of Vucevic, Zach Collins, Patrick Williams, and Kevin Huerter, and then also Ayo Dosunmu, and then draft compensation depending on which two you picked out of that first four, and then they would just get Zion in return. I don't know. This value is still decent,
but it doesn't move the needle for the Bulls to me, so I don't know why they make the trade.
And for the final Detroit trade, I'm sorry, I had to re-record this. My initial trades just made no sense for the Pelicans. But I think, again, it's hard to gauge Zion's value, but I think the Pelicans would have to receive any two of Jaden Ivey, Ronald Holland, and Asar Thompson, along with Tobias Harris to make the contracts match, and then also draft compensation. If I'm the Pistons, I'm not giving up Asar Thompson for anything. Pistons fans, you'll have to let me know what you guys think about this. To me, this swing makes some sense for Zion Williamson. It seems like a conservative swing of the bat for a potential MVP candidate. Cade Cunningham and Zion Williamson in the pick and roll would be insane. Obviously, there's all the other issues, but if Zion is anywhere close to what he was these last couple of years when healthy, then this is a really good pickup. Also, I'm not super high on Jaden Ivey. I think he's a good player, but I'm not 100% sure about the fit with him on the team. I mean, I think the team performed better when he was out. I think they were below 500 when he was playing with them, but that also can be due to the team just getting more acclimated as the year went on. Yada, yada, yada. I'm not sold on Jaden Ivey being good or bad. Honestly, I defer to Pistons fans, so let me know down in the comment section what you think about Jaden Ivey and if you'd be willing to give him up and Ron Holland in a trade for Zion Williamson.
But again, that's just me. Let me know what you guys think of these trades. And with that, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching all the way through. We greatly appreciate it. If you enjoy this content, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Comment down below, share the video with a friend, and as always, stay sweaty, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.